That's it? None?
Just a few weeks into practice, what are your biggest takeaways so far?
We're a little bit ahead of where we were last year just because we had a whole new team last year. This year we have 7 returners if you talk about million. So we're a little bit further ahead. But I think that's it. We're still trying to get Micah and Chuck and then the 2 freshmen comfortable with what we're running. But I would say we're ahead of schedule in terms of what we're running. And there's not as much teaching going on as there was last year, which is good. But we'll see on Wednesday where we're at.
How difficult is it for the new guys to learn?
It's always different. I don't care what you're putting in, what system you have. It's always hard for first-year guys. The terminology is different. No matter if they, like with Micah and Chuck, have played 4 years, all the terminology is different. How we guard ball screens. Everything's different. So they're still getting comfortable with it. But every day they get better and they get more comfortable with what we're running. But it's, the bottom line is about execution. So the better they can get at it, the better we're going to be.
You have 2 experienced, proven point guards. What's your plan for how that plays out?
Yeah, we'll just see how it goes. They earn playing time in practice, and then they earn more playing time during the game as they play better. But we have 2 really good point guards, and we'll be able to pressure the ball more. They can pressure the ball. They can score. They're 2 good point guards, and Mike is still learning the system where Kyrell is one year in. But it's going to give us an opportunity to be able to play, I think, a little bit more pressure defense.
What does Micah bring to the table that's different?
He's bigger. He probably shoots the ball better. He's not as quick. But he's played 4 years, and he was successful at UC. So he's just like Chuck. Both of those guys are mature guys. They've been through it, but they're still learning our system. They're freshmen when it comes to learning Bonaventure basketball. But they're getting better and better, and the longer they go, the longer they practice, the better they'll be.
Coach, the team struggled on the road last season. How are you hoping to combat that this season?
You learn how to win on the road by winning, and it's always more difficult on the road. We had a young team last year. Hopefully, last year those guys were the first time that they've ever been in any of those arenas, played in the Atlantic 10. So there was an adjustment. Hopefully this year there's a little bit more experience. We brought in 2 guys that are veteran guys, but it's still difficult. No matter if you have a veteran team or not, playing on the road is hard, and you have to play that much better. And hopefully we can do that. We have to play, you have to steal some on the road. I always say, in order to compete for an Atlantic 10 title, you got to protect your home court, and you got to steal some on the road. And if you can steal 3 or 4 on the road, that's good. That means you lose 5, So it's always difficult, but hopefully we can play better.
Pride had some excellent numbers at Bryant. He's coming in with just amazing stats. What is his leadership role been like on the team as players?
Yeah, he's a veteran guy. He's still, just like I said earlier with Micah, they're still learning, so they can't really be leaders until they get a really good grasp of what they're doing. But the guys, they trust them. They're mature guys. They've been through it. And I think on any team, young guys look for those older guys to be able to feed off of. And Chuck and Mike are 2 players that have their teammates' full confidence, but they're still trying to find their way. And it's not going to be right away where they feel 100% comfortable. But hopefully, as the season goes along, they'll be playing their best when they really get a good feel for what they're doing right and wrong.
What players are you seeing step into those leadership roles?
Yeah, it's the same. Kyrell's a leader. The 2 captains, Moses and Daryl are the captains, and they're chosen captains for a reason. I don't choose them. Their teammates choose them. So they have confidence in those two guys. And they've done it last year. They had good games. For the most part, Darryl probably more than Moses. But they were captains last year. They're captains this year. So it just tells you the confidence that their teammates have in them.
By bringing Charles in, I mean, does that kind of take some of the pressure off of Darryl?
Yeah, well, not necessarily. I think we have more guys that can shoot the ball this year. Chuck and Moses and Jan. They can. There's more guys that are able to take those shots. And I think at times last year, Darryl felt like, he needed to take those big shots, force some shots. I don't think we're going to need to do that. I think we have more shooters on the perimeter. Chad is in much better shape. Micah can shoot it. So at times we can put 4 guys out there that can really shoot, around Chad, which will be difficult for the opponent to guard.
Is this the deepest team you've had here at St. Bonaventure? I mean, you've got 5 guards. I imagine that we'll see the floor a lot. I mean, how deep is this team?
Yeah, it's hard to say. I'm going to play the best guys, and usually it's 8 or 9 guys. 1 year, 2 years ago we played 5 guys, but it's yet to be determined. You think you have more depth, but knock on wood, someone gets hurt or something happens. So you can't have enough good players, and I think we have some good players that I think have improved from last year. Now we'll find out how much they've improved, but we're gonna play the guys we feel comfortable with, but I think we have more players than we had last year.
Coach, I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about Chad's improvement from last year to this year. I know he was, in you guys' preseason probably, third in the A-10 last year in blocks in his first year. I wonder if you can.
Yeah, I'm not sure he's going to be a shot blocker. I think those are, he probably was blocking some 5'5" guys. But it's more, he's really taken his diet seriously. He told me at one point when he was in high school he was 340 pounds. And so he's down to, whatever, at one point he was 256. So, and you can tell him or tell any player that they need to get in shape and this is what they need to eat and so forth. But the kid has to do it. And he's really committed himself. He's got a lot of talent, but he wasn't in good shape. And he got in better shape as the season went along, but he still wasn't in the shape that he needed to be in the shape to be successful in the Atlantic 10. And, he took that to heart. And he's really committed himself. And, hopefully it turns out, well for him. But he's done everything he could from a diet standpoint to get himself in shape. And we're hoping that, he can have a great year for us.
In kind of a big picture sense, does it feel like this was a normal offseason for you
Yeah.
after everything last year?
Yeah, well, it wasn't a normal offseason because, we still hit the portal and we had guys leave, and it's never going to be the same. You're going to be recruiting all the way until August. You never know when guys are going to leave, when guys are going to put their name in the portal. A little bit different now. Now it's, 30 days or 45 days after the Final Four, whatever the new rule is. But you still have those graduate students that can decide to leave once they graduate. But the preseason has been different because we have 6 or 7 guys that can teach the younger guys. It's almost like the culture. We had to change the culture or teach the culture last year because we had nobody that came back. This year, I think the 7 guys know, we've rebuilt the culture. And now we got those 2 or 3, Noel Brown being the 3rd portal guy, that the veteran guys can teach them this is how it's done. And it's not always coming from me. I think sometimes, what I say is important, but when I leave the locker room, what is said is most important. And I think we have guys now that understand what we want as coaches and can relay that to the new guys. And we didn't have that last year.
Question question about Jan. He played the
Yeah.
4, a lot of, maybe the last dozen games. Do you expect that to continue this year? What
He
does
played
Jan
the
do?
4, all 30 whatever games.
Right, but he started.
He's a 4-man. He's,
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Barry was the 3-man. And
Okay.
then the last, we went really small where we had Moses play the 3.
Right.
We had Darryl at the 2. But Jan is, he'll play the 4 again this year. He's a guy, and we don't really look at it as a the 1 through 4 are all interchangeable. The way we run our offense through the 5-man, it's all interchangeable. We have numbers, so when we run quick hitters, if we run slant 4, slant 4 is for our 4-man, which is Jan. But he's really improved. He's gotten better. Last year he could shoot the ball. He was almost like a suburban jump shooter. And this year he's off season. He's worked on taking guys off the bounce. He's worked on his body. He's much improved. He had a really good year last year. Made the all-freshman team, but we're expecting him to really have a good year for us.
What's a suburban jump shooter guy shooting?
The guy can just catch and shoot.
Okay.
Guy that can't dribble.
Gotcha.
That's a suburban jump shooter. Guy that can't put it down, can't take a ball to the basket. All he can do is jump. All he can do is shoot. So if you're just a one-dimensional guy, it's easy to guard you. So he's really worked on taking guys off the bounce and taking that suburban jump shooter out of his. No, he can really shoot. But now putting it down, it makes that defender a little bit more hesitant.
What are you interested in seeing about from this exhibition game on Wednesday?
We had our secret scrimmage against Kent State, 2 weeks ago. And so that was their first test. And some guys played better than others. Now we're trying to take that next step. We're trying to, the mistakes that we made against Kent State, in the last 2 weeks, we've tried to fix those. And so now, from an individual standpoint and from a team standpoint, so now this is the second test, and we're finding out, where our guys are in terms of, understanding what we're trying to do. And then you're trying to, you want to win, but you want to make sure you play all the guys, almost like get the nervousness out, get the freshmen in the games, get the new guys in so they can experience what it's like to play at the Riley Center. But you want to win, but at the same time you want to get everybody involved. Get all the rust off of us. This will be the first time in 6 or 7 months that we're playing with our uniforms on under the lights. So it's a good test, and we're looking forward to it.
With the tournament a couple weeks down in New York, what are you guys hoping to get out of that big picture?
Oh, I'm worried about Longwood. I have no idea. We made the schedule that was, we thought, we needed to have some high major teams, and I think we have a tough schedule. Florida Atlantic is, I think 7th in the country or 10th in the country, whatever they are. Akron I just saw was, number 8 in the mid-majors. And then Oklahoma State, Florida, Notre Dame, and Auburn are high major teams. So we'll worry about that after we get through Longwood and Canisius.